Okay, now we're going to do the blue-white cloning lab. This is the lab that I keep stressing takes so much time. I mean, we have a 1 hour incubation period, and then I think we have a 30-minute incubation period, and then 15 here and there. So it's extremely, extremely, extremely important that you guys come on time and be ready to go right away. Just put your backpacks and your drinks and everything to the side, have your lab and your pencil out, and that's all you need. We're not going to grade first, we're not going to finish any other labs first, we're going to do this right away. We need to get started right at 6 o'clock, okay? It's also extremely important that you read the lab and make sure you understand the procedure, because we don't have time to be trying to figure out what we're doing during class unless you want to be there until 10 o'clock, okay? So it's really, really important that we start right away, okay? Now, we'll go over the actual what this whole thing means a little bit later. So I'm going to skip the actual content of the reason for the lab, and you guys can read that on your own, and I can explain it to you either via in class, or I can try to do some sort of demo, not really a demo, or some sort of a lecture or something like that, or whatever we need to do. But make sure you read that and have some sort of understanding, okay? And there will probably be some quiz questions on that. But right now I'm going to skip straight to the procedure. So in my book, the procedure starts on page 11, mostly page 12, and I'm hoping yours is the same. It's the one that says experiment, and it has module 1, okay? So regardless whatever page or number yours is, mine is in a book, yours was the downloaded version, make sure we're starting on module 1, okay? And it has a procedure in a graphic representation that tells you what to do, okay? So we're going to go through this step by step. So you're going to have this kit, and I only have portions of it because I couldn't open all the kit because I would ruin the supplies. We would have nothing to do. The other thing is we're going to work in 5 groups. So we're going to have larger groups this time than we normally do because we normally work in 8. But the kit that they give us only has 5 groups, okay? So we're going to have to split up a little bit differently, and I may do it a random split up, or we'll just see how we do that when we get to class, okay? So the first thing it says is vortex the tube containing T4 ligase, and in parentheses it says L3. So the tube will be labeled for you, and it's going to be the one with a green top, okay? And it'll be labeled L3, hopefully, or it'll say L4 plus, and so it'll be identified with what it is, okay? And I don't know if I know you can't tell in the video, but there's a pellet in here. It's a hard pellet, okay? It looks like plastic. And what you're going to do is vortex that. Well, I don't want to vortex this and ruin it for your lab, so I'm going to vortex a different tube. I just want to show what vortexing is. Okay, this right here is the vortex machine. Now we only have one of them, but I'm glad to have the one. Last semesters we didn't have any, so you guys are lucky just to have the one. But so each group will have to come over and do it, and it only takes a second. So you turn it on, and then you push down on it, and it's like a vibrating, spinning thing. And what it's going to do is it's going to break that pellet up so that when we add a liquid, it will mix. And that's all you need to do. You'll get this like vibration feeling in your fingers, okay? So that's the vortexing part, okay? But I did it to this tube here, all right? Then it says add 35 microliters of the buffer labeled L4. So you have a buffer labeled L4. I'll just pretend this is it. And you have to aliquot 35 microliters. Well, if you remember, our little pipetters go to 20. So what I did was I set up 2 pipetters, and we'll have enough to have 2 for every group. And I put this one at 20, and I put this one at 15 to equal 35. So 20 is 200, and 15 is 150, okay? So if I'm going to aliquot, now you would be wearing gloves and all of that, but I'm not going to waste them in the demo. You're going to aliquot, what did I say, 35 microliters. Now this is where the tips will be this time, and they're sterile, so you just want to take your tip out and close it right away. Now I'm going to take my buffer, and these guys are kind of hard to open. Sometimes I end up shooting them across the room, so be very careful. So I'm getting my 20, so then I'll add my 20 to the pellet that I just did with the vortex, and then I'm going to get the 15, and I'm going to take my 15 microliters, So remember, you push down to the first stop, let it pull up slowly, and then we're going to put that in the tube. I took it out of the wrong one. You take it from the buffer and put it in the tube that you had vortexed, okay? And then it says gently stir with the pipette, mixing it up and down. It doesn't mean stir it this way. It means just depress, push down, depress, push down. Okay, so that's the gently mixing. Then make sure you get it all out by pushing it completely down. Okay, so now this is this tube that has been vortexed, and I added the buffer to it. Okay, and then it says briefly pulse in a microcentrifuge. So that's what this is here. We're going to have 3 or 4 of these, so we should have one for every table. If not, we'll have 3 of them, which is great. Okay, like I said last semester, we didn't have these supplies. Okay, now it's this tube right here. Now you have one tube, and whenever you do a microcentrifuge, you have to balance. So what we would do is the people at your table would put them opposite. And like I said, I'm not going to use that tube because I don't want to ruin it. But you're going to put them opposite of each other. Now you need to label your tube to identify it as your group because it's going to be in that centrifuge with other people's tubes. Okay? So it says gently pulse, so all you do is just turn it on, let it get up to maximum speed, and then turn it off. That's what it means by gently pulse. Okay? When it completely stops, you can open it and take out your tubes. Now everything should be down at the bottom. Now it says label 2 tubes, 2 1.5 mil tubes, which are these right here. Label them ligation and control. Well, they're pretty small tubes, and I don't think you could write the word ligation on it. You want to write it on the top, because when we went put these in the water bath, if you write on here, it's going to get washed off. So I label them L and C, okay? Once again, put some sort of a symbol on there so that you know it's your group, because if you put them all in the water bath together, you don't want to get them mixed up. So you label one L for ligation, one C for control. Then it says aliquot 15 microliters of the rehydrated stuff. So remember, it was this tube, but since we're pretending, I had it all in this tube. So with a clean pipette, and I'm not going to get another pipette tip, but you always use a clean tip, all right? And so after you've done it, you're going to just depress this and get rid of the old tip. But like I said, I'm just going to use the same tip because I don't want to waste, okay? You're going to put 15 microliters. So this one's my 20 microliter one, so I don't want to use that. I want to use the 15 microliter one. And you're going to put 15 microliters of that rehydrated stuff into your ligation tube and your control tube, okay? All right, so I depress to the first stop, slowly let it up, put it down. To the first stop, slowly let it up, and put it down. Now, you may not be seeing that, so let me show you again. You put it down, and you can actually pick it up so you can see that you're down in the liquid. So you pull up your 15 microliters and put it into your tube, okay? Now we've done with the original one that we started with. So that solution that we made by vortexing, adding the buffer, and mixing, that's the solution you're putting into the 2 new tubes. Now it says to the ligation tube, add 20 microliters of the EcoR1 fragment, okay? So that's going to be another tube, so I'll just pretend it's this one, okay? So then I'm going to use my 20 microliter one with a new tip, and I'm going to take 20 microliters of the one that's labeled L1. I'm on page 13, step 7, and I'm going to add that to the ligation tube, the one labeled L, okay? Then I would get a new tip, and then now I'm going to take from the one labeled L2, 20 microliters, and I'm going to put it into the one labeled control, okay? Now in these 2 tubes, I have a total of 35 microliters. I have put the original solution that I made, and then I put the ligation materials, and then I put the control materials, okay? Now it says pulse the tubes. Once again, when you go to close these, just be careful you don't shoot them across the room because they're really hard to open and close sometimes. So it says pulse, so we're just going to turn it on, let it get up to top speed, and turn it off. Wait till it completely stops, and open it up. I'm so thrilled to have these machines. You have no idea. Okay, now this is the wait part. It says step 10, incubate at room temperature for 1 hour. Okay, so you're just going to take your whole thing, put it off to the side, look at the time, mark it in your book, and we're going to wait an hour. It's just going to sit there. Now it says every 10 or 15 minutes, tap it. And that's all you're going to do. Okay? So what are we going to do during this hour that we're waiting? We're going to grade the aseptic technique and the fermentation of carbs. And we're going to do the oxygen part, the second half of the oxygen lab that was in the previous video. Okay? So while we're waiting, we have to kind of put all this to the side, grab our other stuffs, grade our labs, start the other lab. Okay? Whole time keeping an eye on the clock, waiting for that hour to come around, every 10 minutes or so, going like this. Okay? Now our 1 hour incubation is over. We're going to continue, we're not going to stop because we only have 1 day a week that we do this. Okay? Now we're going to bring our tubes back. So this was a tube that we've already used and we're not going to use it anymore. We probably won't use the buffer anymore. Okay? So now we have the control and the ligation tubes that we just had sitting for 1 hour. Okay? Now we're on module 2. So the page that says module 2, transformation and selection. Okay? So now it says we need a source plate of E. coli. So what you'll have is a small plate. It'll have agar on the bottom of it like the plates we used last week, but they're smaller. Okay? And it'll have bacteria growing on the top of it. Okay? And then it says transfer 2 large colonies, and it would have the word source written on the plate. Okay? Or it might say E. coli. Okay? It says transfer 2 large colonies into, let's see, calcium chloride. Okay? So before you do that, we want to, let's see, where's the words for this? Okay, over on this side. Now look over on page 15. See, I'm even getting confused. This is one of those really confusing procedures. Okay, so now it says on this, the word part of it on page 15, it says number 2, label a second microcentrifuge tube, control and ligation. So we have the previous 2. Now you're going to label 2 empty tubes, control and ligation. Okay? Once again, label them on the top. And don't get them mixed up, but one of them has solution in them and one of them doesn't. Now it says using a sterile 1 ml pipette, add 250 microliters of ice cold calcium chloride. So what you'll have at your station also is an ice water bath. This is just water because I didn't use the ice, but these little floaters actually float in the ice and the water. Okay, so this calcium chloride will be at your station in the ice because it needs to be cold the entire time